What if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I am Sherry Elise. I am a five-time published author and host of the TV show Good Morning Joy, and I'm here in partnership with Brave Healer Publishing to introduce you to some of the amazing authors in one of their newest books called From Burnout to Burning Bright: Prevention, Healing, and Recovery. And before I introduce you to these fabulous humans sitting here in front of me, I want to give a shout out to their lead author, R. Scott Holmes. Thank you, Scott, for putting together a book that is so needed right now. There are so many people who are either in the heart of burnout or right on the edge of it. And these tools and stories are 100% going to help them through it. So thank you, Scott. And now to share with you a little bit about our guest today. First, I have Karen Robinson, and she is a trauma recovery expert and founder of Heal, Thrive, Dream, empowering survivors to heal deeply and build lives rooted in safety, connection, and purpose. Dr. Ken L. Gold is ordained as a priest in the Order of Melchizedek and an aerospace engineer who brings together physics, science, and shamanic practice in the development of the quantum healing tachyonic resonance chamber. And lastly, we've got Sarah Jane, and she is the founder of Gift of Healing TV, creator of Vocal Reiki, author, international speaker, and presenter. She lives in England and speaks light language. It is so awesome to have all.
You muted yourself, Sherry.
Okay, thank you. How much did we miss? Was it just, did everyone's bios come through? You heard me?
Yes.
Okay, that'll
Yeah,
be fun
yeah.
editing
10
this one.
words or so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you three so much for being here today and for sharing your stories vulnerably with bravery, of course, and providing all of the readers tools, the answer, so they're not just inspired, but they actually can take action to better their lives. I'm going to start with you today, Sarah. Can you share with us the name of your chapter, the chapter number, and then also talk to us a little about your why behind writing this?
Chapter 19, Tears Flowing, the Dam Bursting, Releasing Trapped Emotions to Find the You Beneath. I've done a few of these books, and the one thing I remember hearing Bo Eason say, it's the storytellers. It's the people who share their stories that will support other people. And so this book, when Scott first asked me, it was just like, I don't know, I've got anything I can share. And then I remembered one incident, then a second one, and then a third one. And it was just like, okay, I have got something I can share. And although the words burnout don't tend to come into the three different aspects I went through, they are all aspects of burnout. And to me, it was really important that every aspect, anything that could be considered as a burnout, was shared. And wasn't all about using one particular word. And people go through different things. And I just hope that what I had gone through would touch lives, and support people to realize they're not on their own.
And you 100% did that. What I find so interesting is as I've been talking to your co-authors, a lot of people really said the same thing, which was when Scott approached them, they didn't really think that they had anything to share. And then the more they sat with it, they're like, oh, it was like this whole insight into how burnout can show up in different ways than what we traditionally expect it to. And so just reading your chapter reminded me personally of a moment that I had in a car of the full breakdown and the bottled up of emotions and just that disconnection from self. And people don't realize, I think, and I imagine I'd love your input on it, that not fully allowing yourself to be and having to always be somebody or something else can completely deplete you.
Oh, I'd spent so many years as a people pleaser. The insecurities caused by an accident as a child. At that stage, And this was before I even got to my wake up or life quake. But it was suddenly the body was saying, okay, you've started to relax. Now you blooming well are going to. We're gonna absolutely take you right down. It was just that we're gonna make you. And I think that's important. We don't allow ourselves. Some things get, whether it's the people pleasing, the insecurity, whether it's stuff that's going on in your life, we forget that we have to take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, we're not there for ourselves, but we get to the stage where we can't be there for anybody else either. And so that release, and I know I've put a poem in there that came to me. I channel stuff, and I'm sure that was part of the channeling. And it is about allowing the dam to burst, but preferably not getting to the point where it's a dam that bursts.
Yes. Well, I will say, as you said, about your hope is really that people don't feel so alone. And I think all three of you did such a beautiful way, such a beautiful job at expressing and relating to people on one level or another and feeling like we aren't alone and everybody experiences this in their own way. Ken, I'll ask you the same question. Tell us the name of your first welcome and tell us the name of your
Welcome.
chapter and chapter number, and then talk about your why behind being part of this book and the chapter.
Okay. Well, my chapter is chapter 5, and the title is "Be Still and Know Thyself," and then the subtitle is "The Dragon Beneath the Temple." And I was a scout's roommate in Greece in October. We went there for 2 weeks, and so I heard a lot about the book, and we'd actually done one together before in after a trip to Peru, and the idea just really kind of struck me, kind of caught me, just really hooked me. And basically, what I'm talking about is kind of living multiple lives. I'm an aerospace engineer. I have a PhD in engineering. I used to be a college professor. I just I worked on the Artemis mission that went to the moon recently. So I've done a lot of stuff like that. But I've also found out that I'm really good at the shamanic work, at the energy manipulation, and those two worlds coming together has been something where I basically have two complete lives. I have people in the engineering world that think I'm crazy going to pyramids and doing all of this stuff. We just got back from Teotihuacan last week. So doing strange things like that. And then the people in the light worker community kind of don't trust science either. And I kind of walk a thin, narrow line between the two. And I just realized it was getting so complex, trying to know when to talk about which thing, just trying to manage everything. And then I run an addiction recovery center on the side. So I'm never bored.
I didn't realize there was
I
time on the side.
no, no, there's not. I think somehow I need to figure out one of these systems to split into two or three people, and that I would be happier.
Yeah.
But just that burnout, I didn't even realize that it was burnout until I started really thinking about what I was going to write for this book. And it came to me pretty quickly. I think I wrote the first draft of the chapter in about 4 hours. I just sat down and started writing, and then it becomes shortening it and fixing it up. But I think it's really important. I do know a lot of people in the scientific community, and especially when you get into quantum physics, light work, spirituality, they're really all descriptions of the same thing. They're all just ways to try and explain the unknown and then to try and make it meaningful in your daily life. And that's kind of where I walk and what I was trying to convey in this chapter.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I was just as blown away just by I was like, wait, Artemis and then also light worker, like the worlds for me, I felt almost, I don't want to say burnt out, but like how do you walk that line between the two and balancing both those worlds? So it was such an interesting journey to read your story, which, of course, we're not going to give away all of it, but being able to find that place, first of all, with the awareness, right, that this was a challenge or an issue to walk both of those worlds. Have you found, like, this is just on a personal level, I'm intrigued by this. Have you found that the science world or the light world, like, has there been a closer gap? Has the gap gotten a little closer in the world of understanding or relating?
Absolutely. I think it really is. I mean, people just all over the place that are doing any kind of work like this now know words like quantum entanglement, which
Mhm.
yeah, that's a very defined quantum reality physics thing. And yeah, there is a growth, and I do find that people are interested if you explain it kind of the way I do. I mean, I work with a lot of younger guys, especially, and in recovery, and some of them have real trouble with spirituality. But if I explain it in terms of energy, then they light up and they get that. And then I've had other experiences too, where some people like to delve deep into the spirituality of it and why the spirituality of ancient Greece and ancient Egypt and Peru and the Aztecs, they all come together. There's commonalities, even though these groups never met
Mhm.
and never interacted in all of the history of the world. And we could sit here, with Chat GPT and the internet and kind of explore worlds that in a way that no one before us in all of humanity could do.
That's
And
awesome.
when you look at it like that, the commonality is breathtaking and amazing. And I can't say enough good about it. But
Yeah.
but I really think the spirituality, understanding the spiritual notion, really helps with the science and vice versa. And quantum
Yeah.
spirituality is what I like to call what I do.
I love that. Love that. That's so cool. Thank you. Sarah, we're going to move
Yeah.
on to you. Yeah. Tell us the name of your chapter and chapter number and your why behind writing it.
I think you mean Karen. You've
Sorry,
done me.
Karen. Sarah, Karen. Somebody needs some more coffee today. Karen,
I was,
I
was
apologize.
curious. No worries. I was curious if Sarah was going to share again.
Just in case we have a backup. Yeah. Go ahead, Karen. I
Well,
apologize.
first, I want to say I appreciate Cherry being here with you. Laura has always spoke so highly of you. And then
Oh,
Sarah and Ken, Scott raves about the two of you and some other people of the book too. But I feel like I know you a little bit just from how Scott has shared about you both. So it's an honor to be with all three of you
oh,
today. What a
thank you.
what an amazing group of four we are. So my chapter is chapter 15, and the title, excuse me a little bit, is From Burnout to Belonging. It's a healing method for building healthy relationships. Because I have noticed I am a licensed clinical social worker, and social workers, like other helping or healing professionals, we tend to really put our clients first, because our clients are going through such heavy things, right, in their lives. And then, of course, if you have anything going on with your family, you're burning it at both ends. And so I actually had zero problem remembering burning out. What I had a problem with, and Scott really pushed me, was sharing it.
Mm,
I'm happy to share all my drama and all my bad decisions in my life. I'm very open with my mistakes if it's about my personal life, like the failed relationships I've had, how I've messed up. But when it was talking about my career, which has been a huge piece of my identity that I don't know how to turn off of, like I was literally born to be a social worker, right? It's in every cell of my body, my service to others. And so to really put that under a microscope, it was like, ouch.
hmm
It was a little more raw and vulnerable than I'd like to be. But he encouraged me and I did do it. So I was so thankful when this book was all finished.
It's that whole like emotional hangover, right, after
Yeah.
writing. And I felt that in your writing, though, the about the courage, I'll say that again, or bravery that it took because I could feel, and you mentioned it a few times, like just strangeness sharing this, and I could feel the trepidation in it, which made it all as a reader, I felt like I was being let in to a world that, you know, that you don't always share about, and that felt like special as a reader and reeled me in more. So I just thank you for writing that and being brave enough to do that. What is your hope with, this chapter?
Yeah, my hope is it actually is publication date is the same date as my own personal memoir and healing tool. So
Oh.
between these two projects, and I'm also in Laura's project, the Journal of a Visionary, which is also being published this week. So between the three bodies of work, I think the overall theme for me is getting a message out that we need to use our voice. Whether that's writing or speaking, is that we really need to share our stories because it's so cleansing and freeing and also inspires other people to do the same. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about, you know, as we said, some people don't even, including yourselves, may have realized that they're in burnout or burnout was even a part of your world. It's probably, when I hear, because burnout is everywhere, I'm like, oh, I don't deal with that. And then I start to think and read about some of the symptoms of people with burnout. I'm like, huh, is there? Is there a part of that? So I don't think that I am alone or a lot of us are alone in that. So sometimes people can be on the edge of it and not even realize that. This is for Sarah, the real Sarah. Um, what advice do you want to give to someone about that awareness? Being able to understand that they might be in it or what to look for or share part of a tool.
How are you feeling about yourself, about your life? Do you love your work? Do you enjoy it? But how much time is it taking up in your life? What's going on with you and your family, with friends? I think it's opening up to how you are showing up in your life and how are you showing up for yourself? Because I think the self thing was the big part when it came to the eventual life quake within my life. It was, where was I on the list, the priority list in my life? I don't think I even existed on it.
Hmm.
It wasn't a matter of I was at the bottom. I'd fallen off the bottom of my list. Without even really realizing there was a list, everybody came before I did. And do we have to really get to the point where we've pushed ourselves so far off the list that we're becoming so drained that we don't know who we are? Ask that question, who am I? What makes my heart sing? You know, and if you can't answer that question, because if somebody had said, oh, I know who I am and I like who I am, and I heard that occasion, I was thinking, how? I haven't got a clue who I am.
Hmm.
Which should have been the nudge that something wasn't as it should be in my life. This is my life to live for me, experience the things I'm here to experience. I'm not here to live other people's lives for them, and they aren't here to live their life for me. So where do you show up in your own life?
Beautiful. So checking in with themselves just to start with seeing how they feel, period. Because how many,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so many of us just go through the motions and just day in, day out. And especially, right, when you are in burnout or on the edge, you don't even realize that you exist in that. Powerful. What about for you, Ken? Any advice you would give to someone about that awareness around burnout?
Well, I think the most important thing for me was figuring out that it was happening because I've always been very good at pushing myself, getting done what needs to be done. Just I've had to do that. And just realizing that I was exhausted all the time.
Mm.
I was doing things that I didn't really want to do anymore that I'd started maybe 10 years ago and were had some momentum behind them still going. And that be still and know thyself. That's what they tell you that as you're entering at the Temple of Apollo at the Oracle of Delphi in Greece. That's where the title comes from. Is they would tell you that before you came in. Be still and know thyself. Before you go in and face the Oracle. And I think learning to figure out what is really important to you still, and if you have other things going on, there's sometimes you need to cut those energy bonds that are draining you from all the things you've been doing and delegate. And I've actually done a lot of that the last year. I've kind of put stuff off on other people that really wanted to do it, that used to really interest me, and I kind of lost the steam for some of the initiatives, and just getting to a point where you realize that you aren't the only one who can do the things you're doing,
Mm.
and letting other people come in. But I think the biggest thing is just kind of taking an inventory of yourself. The Toltec world, we say stalking. Stalk yourself and see where you're putting your attention, because where your attention goes, life grows. And that's a saying that we have. And you can't do everything all the time for everybody. And it's really just kind of coming down to figuring out, I'm 59. I've got, I don't know how many more years, but it's not limitless. And I knew I really needed to figure out what was important to me, where I wanted my life to grow in the, next, say, 5 years or whatever it is. And so I think the biggest thing is realizing that you have an issue, that you have a problem, and then taking stock of it, figuring out what things you want to keep doing, what things you might want to let go. And then just that integration, because that was the hardest part is, I'd spend 2 hours doing one thing, then 2 hours doing something else, and 2 hours doing something else, and not really getting anything done in any place as well as I wanted to. And so just kind of bringing that all home, letting things go that weren't really serving me anymore, and letting them go to people that they will serve. I'm talking
Yeah.
just about some of the recovery initiatives and things like that that I've set up over the years. So that's really the biggest thing, though, is learn, get to know yourself.
Yeah.
You could be your own best friend. And most of us are so busy, I think, that we don't even really know ourselves sometimes, because it's all about service work. It's all about helping others. It's all about helping our clients and our friends and the people that really need it, without ever taking the time to step back and look at ourselves and what we need for ourselves.
It's almost so impactful, everything you said. It's almost like I got a vision of just again, not again, but being on that treadmill, like where the life treadmill that you get like thrown into something and it just keeps going from the time you're young and you have that initial dream of
Yeah.
yours. And then you, for a lot of people, never question it again and just keep moving towards that goal. And then maybe decades later, realizing, I don't even like this or want to do this anymore. So I love this idea of taking stock, of really stepping back and being like, are these the things that are in alignment? Are they still my values? Like just the whole stalking, as you said, really great stuff. Uh, what about you, Karen? Any advice for someone who might not know that they're in burnout or on the edge?
I One of my clients this morning is already fully fledged in burnout, and she was at work and, took a break to do her session with me, near tears. And I just feel like once you're there, it's so hard to work on yourself and getting the help and support you need. So I always like to try to get people for prevention,
Hmm.
right? And I recognize I did get her to go to a healing retreat, and she did show up and she found it to be powerful, impactful, and she did some of the work for a couple of weeks, and then she fell back off and did her full-fledged over delivering, overworking, burning it in both ends. So I was like, huh. For me, what I've learned after burning out a few thousand times, it's like an exaggeration, but a few times, what I know to be true that's helped most people the best is just that prevention piece of really working on your self-care. And I don't mean getting your nails done and going shopping, which is fine, but I mean the deeper things like a meditation practice, movement, getting enough hydration, you're working on your nutrition, working on your deep breathing, writing, like journaling, like doing that on a daily or if not daily, every other day. Like when you spend intentional time truly taking care of yourself on these things, I call them non-negotiables now
Hmm.
because I used to be a heavy emotional eater. Like I ate my stress to being over 100 pounds overweight at one point. And so for me, the self-cares now are completely non-negotiable because things start to crumble when we don't meaningfully, intentionally take care of ourselves. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah, and perfect advice, I would say, because I think people that are in burnout, like having to have this idea that they have got to change my whole life and I need to stop everything when it can be just as simple, say simple but powerful as, taking a few deep breaths. That's self-care and starting with that one thing, right? So it doesn't feel overwhelming. So such great advice. I'm going to stay with you right now, Karen. And my last question I want to know is, and I'm going to take this straight from your book title. What is the most important thing that you want us to know about a healing method for building healthy relationships?
I think, well, I have a couple thoughts, but the one is, setting intentions to do something every month to work on one of your relationships. That's what I teach the women I work with in my healing membership is look at one of your relationships. It could be a partner, a child, an extended family member, a friend, a coworker, anyone, and where can you focus on an upgrade? And then thinking about what would that upgrade look like? Would it be working on your communication skills? Would it be working on your boundaries? Is it being more clear on stating what you want? And then maybe it's a friend that you already feel close to, but you want to pour into them. Maybe it's a hard season in their life. So you could come up with when are you going to text them, send a card, send a care package, just pouring into them. And then that way, you're doing what you can to work on your relationships. So I think that's what I would say is intentional, setting your attention mentally, and then behaviorally, what are you going to do? How are you going to show up for people in your life? Oh, and one more piece I would like to add, just because I do a lot of couples work, is we always get caught up in what other people are doing incorrectly, how they're letting us down, how they're disappointing us, how they're not doing X, Y, or Z correctly. So my suggestion there is just take your power back by looking at how you respond and what you can do. Like you're part of the behavior, right? Because once we focus on how other people can change, we're just stuck because we can
Yeah.
never ever change other people. So just looking at what you can do to see how you can make a difference and feel better.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sarah, what about you? What's the most important thing you want people to know about releasing trapped emotions?
Let yourself cry. Let yourself feel. Don't think that it's weak to do that. Start by being honest with yourself, okay, about how you are feeling, about how your life is, where your life is going, what you're doing, how you think people are actually treating you. But what we have to remember is we teach people how to treat us by the way we let them treat us and by the way we treat ourselves. So how are you treating you? And if you've got you at the bottom of the list, guess what? They know they can do exactly the same to you. They will have no respect for you, for your time, because you don't. So the releasing of the emotions is when you allow yourself to open up to you. If you have to cry, cry. Do you know what? If you want to scream, if you want to shout, preferably do it when you're on your own. Don't do it at other people. Forgiveness. Forgive yourself for allowing yourself to let all this stuff happen, in some case for years. When we can release, actually, is it releasing or is it acknowledging these trapped emotions? And one of the things that really helped me, and I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, I sort of, at one stage, I sort of said, almost, I didn't realize I was saying it to the universe, what can I learn to support me? And within a week, 2 weeks, I was given the answer when I met somebody who said, the first person you treat when you learn Reiki is yourself.
Hmm.
That is what I'd asked. So don't be afraid to put out to the universe, what can I do for me? Because at the end of the day, it is for us to be proactive in our own life. We will require support, but we must be proactive in helping ourselves, in getting involved in things and letting go of things
Yes.
to support
Yeah.
us to find ourselves.
Love that. Taking care of self. Ken, for you, I know you've already touched on this, but I'm going to ask again because there'll probably be something bubbling up. Tell us the most important thing you want people to know about being still and knowing thyself. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm
Sorry
an
about that.
expert at it.
Yeah, yeah. I have a dog. I think the noise cancellation is taking it out, but the dog. I think we had a delivery or something. But the biggest thing I think is the being still part,
Mhm.
because I can remember running from one retreat to another, then coming home, trying to catch up on work, getting ready for the next thing, never really taking that time. And it doesn't have to be something dramatic. I mean, I prefer occasionally, like every other week or so, just to take an entire afternoon off, just go walk in nature or something. Manitou Springs, an area that's here near Colorado Springs. I'd love to go walk there and sort right on the mountains. Just seeing the people and just getting out of that constant melee, that constant need. I mean, it's like already I know when I turn my phone back on, I'm going to have like 4 or 5 things waiting for me here for the day job because it's Monday and we have a deadline this week. But I think that really probably the most single important thing that I've learned over the last few years is taking that pause in between activities. Because if I go straight into work right after this, I'm still thinking about this call. I'm still thinking about the book. I'm excited for tomorrow. Thinking about Scott and our trip to Greece when I decided to be a part of this project. All of that stuff will come in, and I like to take maybe just 5 minutes or so. So after this interview, I'll sit here. I'll just relax. And at one point, I think I described it, and somebody caught on and liked it. But it's like the ginger between the sushi. You just take that little bit of ginger to kind of remove the
I love
taste so you
that.
can experience the next event. And I do a lot of that. I do a lot of settling now. I used to jump from one thing to another at work and then into recovery and then into the spiritual stuff. And just taking those little breaks in between to kind of reset has become incredibly important for me. And that's really helped a lot with the burnout because then I only have one thing hitting me at a time instead of 14 or 15 things coming in from every single direction.
I I love that. Like I literally will walk away with that ginger reference in my head because you know what? I got goosebumps from it because I do think, and especially for high achievers who often end up in burnout, it is that one thing to a next and not, and how often do you look back and go, I wasn't even present for that experience, or I didn't even get to appreciate it because I'm on to the next. So it's such, all of you, such great advice, such great chapters that you wrote. Thank you for helping us all to get to relate to you and get to know more about ourselves and to live a more connected and present life. So thank you for being here and for sharing it with everyone. And of course, to our listeners, I just want you to know that this is so much more than a book. The Brave Healer community is a generous community who is there for you to answer any questions that you have, to carry on conversations, to support you on your journey. And so, if anything that we said today resonated with you, be sure to go down to the show notes where all of the authors' links are there and explore. I am sure that they are happy to connect and share what they have going on. And of course, we hope that you hop on over to Amazon, grab your copy of this amazing book today. The link is also below. And then lastly, the Brave Healer community wants you to know that your words will change the world when you are brave enough to share them. It's time to be brave, everybody. Thank you all so much, and we will see you soon. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.